8th. Thank you, Greg. And this is the Fire Safe Council of Siskiyou County's regular monthly meeting. And we do not have a main speaker presenter today. So we think the meeting probably won't go as long as usual. And usually in July and August, we don't get a lot of agency folks because they tend to be out doing things that they do, like on fire assignments and stuff. So it may be a quick meeting tonight that I don't think that hurts anybody's feelings at this point. But at least most of us are in air-conditioned rooms, so we're not outside in that 90-degree heat. But I'll start off with introductions. I'm Jamie Tarn. I'm the president of the Fire Safe Council of Siskiyou County, and we will move on to Greg Dinger.
Greg Dinger, Mount Shasta West.
Thanks, Greg. Giselle.
Giselle Nova, Fire Safe Council of Siskiyou County Coordinator.
Kristen.
Kristen Norman, Giselle's assistant and outreach coordinator at the Fire Safe Council of Siskiyou County.
And before I let Ed speak for himself, I will just want to add that we have 2 new board members for the Fire Safe Council of Siskiyou County, which we are absolutely thrilled about. This is huge for us. And Ed is one of those. So Ed, would you like to introduce yourself?
Good afternoon. My name's Ed Demansky. I'm on day 3 of joining the committee or the board, and just trying to get oriented. I know a lot of these people here. There's a few I don't know, but I sure know a lot of them. So good to see everybody again.
Yeah.
Hi, Ed. We just met the other day.
Yeah, Greg. I know Christine, Julie, Patty.
Well,
Good to see you, Ed.
we're
I see
thrilled
Heidi.
to have
I see
you.
Heidi George's name down there too. So, yeah.
You're in good company, Ed.
And so are we.
Yes.
Thank you.
Go ahead. Ruby, go ahead.
The finance manager for the Fire Safe Council of Siskiyou County.
Thanks. Patty?
Hey, good evening, everyone. Yeah, Ed, you cannot, what I've learned is you cannot escape certain people. So here we are again. Patty Gretham, I'm with the Shasta Valley RCD and also the coordinator for the Siskiyou Prescribed Burn Association.
Thanks, Patty. Carolyn?
Hello, everyone. This is my first opportunity to join you, and I'm so happy to be here. I only know Greg. Good to see you, Greg. And I have a particular interest in communicating fire safety to the visitors. The 4th of July was of great interest to me, considering that we've probably had 1,000 people who didn't know how to spell Siskiyou and get to the right website. And I'm in the process of looking at a way to develop a flyer that gets people straight to the source they need to go to find their fire zone and to receive alert information. It would be a different way of communicating from those who live here. I happen to live in Mount Shasta.
Well, welcome. Thank you.
Thank you. Good to be here.
Julie?
Hi, Julie Titus, and I'm working with a small team on a couple of a current project, one big project really, but it's 2 projects together. It's Greater Weed and CWPP, Community Wildfire Protection Plan, and also an update to the county plan with a small team of us. And it's with Proactive Wildland Resources, and been doing work for projects around here for quite a few years to help out wherever I can in community wildfire protection.
Julie says a small team, but it's very powerful team.
Yeah.
Thanks, Julie. Kevin?
Good evening, everybody. Kevin Mancebo, Assistant Chief here at CAL FIRE Siskiyou Unit.
Thanks. Dave?
Dave McAdams, Siskiyou Media Council. So
Thanks, Dave. Christine from the Shasta Tea. You're muted.
Thank you. Christine Holst, I work for the Shasta Trinity National Forest based out of McLeod in the fuels department.
Thanks. Heidi? Are you with us, Heidi?
I am. Okay. I'm trying to be technical here. Okay. Heidi George. Hi, Ed. Welcome aboard. That's great. And I'm the Gateway Fireways community leader, not Shasta.
Thanks. Marlene?
Hi, I'm Marlene, and I live in Mount Shasta in the uplands. And I must say, this is the first year for 4th of July I didn't hear any extraneous firecrackers going off, which I was thrilled because usually somebody comes up here. So apparently, all the advertising saying, no fireworks, no fireworks had some effect.
So just for clarification, and Marlene, you can correct me. She lives at the top of Old McLeod, and it goes right into Forest Service property from her property. And people run up there and do things they shouldn't be doing, and she gets the brunt of it. So
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, if it went off, I didn't hear it because it was the first 4th of July that I heard nothing other than the big thing over the lake, and that was it. So I was thrilled.
Yeah.
That's great. And even here in Etna, I only heard about 3 minutes of firecrackers, and which is very unusual. So yeah, people are looking for alternatives, which is wonderful.
We had neighbors on the backside of our property who was blowing them up.
Oh boy.
Okay, and George's iPhone?
Hey, I was up in Medford at my son's, and they were firing off stuff everywhere up there. So
They
don't know what to tell you.
And who are you, George?
George Jennings from Orcal RC&D Executive Director and with the Wairika Area Fire Safe Council.
Great, thank you. Well, tonight, because we don't have an official speaker. Oh, I guess I didn't say who our other new board member is. Besides Ed, we have Greg Moon from the Karuk tribe who has joined us. And so we're really excited about that. Now we're really covering the whole county with our board members, and has affiliations with the tribe. So we hope to increase our work and relationships with them. And so we're excited for both of them to be part of our board. So we'll just go in. Oh, sorry.
That was Dale. He was just agreeing.
Oh, thanks, Dale.
Amen. Good to have you, Greg.
He's not here. She's just saying.
Okay, we'll start with CAL FIRE update. Kevin, I believe you're the only one on tonight for you.
Quick, all right. Let's see. Full staffing, everything is going as usual. We just had the full gamut of prevention folks in the field to try and keep everybody doing what they're supposed to be doing and not doing what they're not supposed to be doing. And we had high successes. Sounds like most of you have seen and felt that. We were able to execute a couple prescribed fires up on the Osgood VTP, successful night burn and a day burn. Great interaction with the Klamath National Forest and Patty and the PBA. We've had some naysayers, but we think that we did a good job up there on the hill. So that's happy moving forward. I don't think that anybody from the Klamath National Forest is on. So just one little tweak that we have, that's some tools that have come available to us this week. Monday, we had 2 seats, which is the single engine air tankers, moved into Montague Airport. And then today, surprisingly enough, we found out that we received a LAT, which is a large air tanker, 3,000 gallon jet powered large engine air tanker. They were promptly here for about 3 hours and got launched over the last. So we are heavily staffed with air assets in Siskiyou County, and happy to say that. I don't think we have a whole lot more to add, and I did want to check with Kristen that I did do my homework and I updated our projects in the spreadsheets for the SOMIC. And if there's any questions,
Thank you for doing.
Kevin, how many crews do you have going now?
So we have a total of 4 crews, 2 at Deadwood and 2 at the Siskiyou Fire Center at the fairgrounds.
Okay, great, thanks.
Yep.
All right, yeah, I don't see anybody from the Klamath is here. So we'll move on to Christine from the Shasta Trinity.
Yep. Let's see. We started our fire restrictions here on the Shasta T July 1st, which I think was very helpful going into 4th of July. So we got lots of signs, e-signs going up Everett Memorial Highway, and people have been fairly responsive, although we did have an escaped campfire up at Caldwell Lakes today off the Stewart Springs Road, but super small, 10 by 10, and the local crew picked that up pretty quick. We are also operating at peak staffing, 6 engines, 5 of which are 7-day effective, and I believe we have a helicopter at Mott as well. We've got some folks in Colorado assisting with incidents out there, some in Idaho, but most of our staffing is here on the unit. We also have a couple cover engines as well. About a month ago, we did a live fire training with a couple partners, CAL FIRE, and then another Forest Service district that went really well out in the McLeod Flats near the Pilgrim Creek Snowmobile Park. A couple acres there that we got to claim for fuels treatments as well. And then other than that, we've got a couple small contracts going. There's one right off the Esperanza Road that goes to the Mount Shasta Forest community, creating some good defensible space there. And then I believe we're working on a good neighbor agreement with CAL FIRE to masticate some of the areas in the Azalea timber sale that's right off the top of, yeah, Kevin's giving me the thumbs up. I think that's a pretty done deal in the Azalea timber sale. And that'll really help, that heavy brush that's in the community at the top of Old McLeod there. There's going to be a Castle Lake Road contract, but that won't begin until August, September. That's mostly a hand pile deal along the road and then around Methodist Camp. And other than that, we're really just fire ready and doing a little bit of burn prep for our units out at Highway 89. And that's the end of report for us.
Thank you, Christine. That's a lot going on. I'll just move on to Patty. I believe, if I'm reading this right, yeah. Patty, you want to give some updates on the PBA and in the RCD if you have any?
Sure. So I'll start with the RCD. So some of you, if you know, you know, but 3 p.m. came and went today. A bunch of us, there was a wildfire prevention grants that were due. So there's been a lot of work around that going on right now. So there's been a lot of focus on grant writing here recently at the RCD. We have a mix of, I don't think a lot of our contractors are working right now just because kind of the hot and dry kind of a thing. And so taking this opportunity to get some units cleared in front of them, get surveys done and all that other kind of stuff. So that's going hard and heavy. Kevin mentioned that Wairika Ridge Osgood burn really, I missed the night burn. I was out of town. I heard really good things about that. And then, I was up there the other day for the 200-acre burn, and just, all I saw was just excellent coordination and some really good fire effects. And, this one woman's bias, but I know that people are uncomfortable with burning in July, but that's the only way we're ever going to get ahead of anything around here is to push the envelope a little bit. But and as far as the PVA burning, we are pulling together a kind of an ambitious fall program. We have a couple of target areas: Guys Gulch, Quartz Valley, Fuel Break, a little bit in Hammond Ranch, maybe even a little bit on the east side of Scott Valley right now. So that's what we're headed towards. Thanks.
How far up Guys Gulch, Patty?
All the way, in terms of going up the road, Robin and Kathleen, those landowners, that's kind of the end of it. But I mean, they're ways up there. They're not, it's before you start switching back and start, climbing. So,
Okay. Okay, thanks. Yeah, and congratulations on pulling off the middle of summer prescribed burn. That's great. You're right. People are going to be nervous, but we got to go do something. Okay, George. George, are you with us still?
Yeah. Just want to give you an update. So Orcal RCD Council and we're working on the Outson Road project, which is on the west side of Wairika. Pretty much shut down right now due to fire danger. And on the east side road up, we've completed all our surveys and working on our CEQA for the east side Wairika project. We did submit a grant to the Prop 4 CAL FIRE grants. Got it in today, and we had a good time at the fair booth, and we're able to get a lot of information to people and get a lot of information working closely next door to the Fire Safe Council and Dave and everybody. So had a lot of good information going out at the fair. Thought that was really good. And really liked the booth, the CAL FIRE and Forest Service booth. And their display was really good too. So anyway, that's it from Orcal and Wairika Area Fire Safe Council.
Okay, thanks, George. We don't have anybody from the next couple groups. So Dave. Siskiyou Media.
Good evening, everybody. How everybody's doing? So real quick on what we're doing, the what they call over-the-top apps or web or streaming apps for the channels. We now have Roku available. You can go to the Roku store and down if you have that. You can download the channels there. We also have Android up for the phone. We also have hopefully by the end of the week, iOS will be approved. And so those three apps will be ready for the channels. When we get funding, Apple TV and Fire Stick will follow behind it. So that'll be those 5 platforms that people that have television sets or your mobile phones, you can have that app on there for free and use it in case that's doing that kind of fun stuff. What we can do now that we have more access for people beyond cable, we just need to start getting more content for the channels, and we need to learning how to bring in current relevant projects. And I want to click up a link here or an image, but when you go there, not only at the top of the page for the live links to the broadcast servers and to the 24/7 bulletin board is at the top of your apps. You also have video on demand below that. So if anybody has things that they would like to post about fire safety or fire preparedness or anything like that you have, any type of videos, we can figure out and how to modify this page and get more current information up there and be more persistent for everybody.
You can share, Dave. I made you a
I'm sorry. I just put the picture inside the
okay.
in the thing just so that everybody can see the image.
Got it.
But thank you. So as this platform matures, the more we can learn about how to utilize it and provide it, then we control the narrative. We don't have to depend on corporate algorithms to try to get information to people. So that's something to consider. It is maturing at a fast rate. Now we have it. We have the infrastructure. Now we just need the content. Golden Fair, I just want to say thanks to the Fire Safe Council of Siskiyou County. I appreciate the help, all that. We had a great time in the booth. Got a lot of information out there, did a few interviews, got some good connections out there, even talked with the National Forest Service. running through what everything can be happening with the channels and, fire safety. So that was really a positive thing. And hopefully we get a chance to do this next year. I'm ready to do it and figure it out because it was fun. And the last thing is that our Radio Siskiyou project, even though that funding is scarce, there is the first Hornbrook is got the equipment in. We're just trying to engineer the tower. Once the tower is approved for the engineering, we're going to put that up, and hopefully by the end of the month, they're transmitting, and Tule Lake would be right behind them. And then we're also talking with Mount Shasta at the end of the month to get that third station in, and then also talking with Happy Camp. So those 4 stations have been funded, and the money is going to be spent. And then we just need the money for the other 8 stations, and then we'll have a network of infrastructure of small, low-power FM radio stations across the county that we can network information and be able to do long format information instead of just text, like things like that. It was just kind of like the suspenders. I call it the suspenders to the belt process. So we're just trying to build this out for community engagement and communication and trying to kind of tie the county together a little bit more. So that is where we're at. That's it.
Thanks, Dave. I'm going to jump around the agenda a little bit. So I'm going to go to Julie, if Julie's ready. Give us an update on the process, the CWPPs and where they're at.
Yeah, we're still in what we're doing now. We have the 2 parts to the analysis the wildfire analysis by Vibrant Planet, which Jay did a presentation on that a little while back. So once we have these analyses and the maps in place, we got our GIS guy that's Kelvin. He's done a good job producing maps now, and what's really important when you do fire modeling is to do some calibration. Those of us that have done fire know about fire and fire modeling, and is anything that's modeling, it's not a perfect science, and you always need to. I feel, and through my career, I always like to go out and do some ground checking. So we took a field trip out to Shastina about a little over a week ago, and then just yesterday we took a long field trip in Hammond Ranch, and to look at the polygons that were prioritized from the modeling and just ground check and see how if it's matching, if it looks like accurate. And so it's taking it's important time to do this, and that's what's going on right now is the ground checking. And then the projects are going to be coming in. They do also, Vibrant Planet will put out a whole layer of now projects that they're going. It'll be interesting to see where those fall and how that pans out. And that's part of the whole process. So, and then I've been doing the drafting on the parts for that go into the actual plan. That's in the background also going on. So that's where we're at. Yeah. I don't know if there's any questions. We will have a public meeting for Greater Weed in the fall. We just usually it's just too much for all the suppression resources that the folks, the BCs and chiefs and stuff to pull together ones in the summer. It just makes more sense to have it in the fall, and we'll have all these things, the new tools for them to look at in the new analysis work. So that will make sense, and a draft too of the plan. So that's the plan for Greater Weed, and then we have to move straight into the update, which is sort of simultaneous, but that's going on as well. Yeah. So
Thanks, Julie.
yeah.
All right. I'm going to go into Fire Safe Council of Siskiyou County next. And as I said, our biggest news is the new 2 new board members. And then Giselle, do you want to give any updates on anything else we have going?
Well, just like many others on here, we just submitted, several grants to the prevention and Prop 4 opportunity through CAL FIRE. And we're excited about those opportunities. And then we're Also, we've got about 5 other projects. The Cantera project that we just finished our environmental on. A few things there. We're not going to be able to masticate part of it because of birds and birds and flowers are important. And so, but we are moving on that one and should start in a week or so. And then also the old stage piece, the 9 acres that belongs to Caltrans. We also found a bird on that, but Fish and Wildlife is going to work with us to get around that spot. And so we'll finish up another 9 acres right there. And then our CWDG grant, Community Wildfire Defense Grant for 500 homes of defensible space, working with CORE, Community Organized Relief Effort. We've got we're halfway. We've got over 250 homes done and some roadside done. And so we're progressing on that nicely and we feel really good about it. And then, of course, I think maybe Kristen can give us an update on outreach and fairs and stuff like that. Would you like to add your 2 cents?
Sure. Yeah, we had had a extra large booth this year for the first time at the Golden Fair. Shared it with Dave at the Siskiyou Media Council and had a revolving guest table space for any other partners or nonprofits. A bunch of different ones. Community resource centers came. The two different food banks came. The Disability Action Network came. Mount Shasta Regional Ecology Center, AmeriCorps, Siskiyou Land Trust. So it's been a really cool collaborative team effort running that. And thank you, Dave. He spearheaded most of that. So really appreciate the partnership with Dave and Siskiyou Media Council. And then he was also, he doesn't toot his own horn enough, but he has a mobile, one of the coolest parts is that he sets up a mobile recording studio. And so lots of us that were tabling and other folks came through and did live streamed interviews. And then all those are all also recorded on the Siskiyou Media Council website and YouTube channel. So you could go there and check out all of our interviews. So that's a really cool aspect, a unique thing that Dave does. And the tallies, I need to double check our metrics from last season, but I'm pretty sure it was actually, even though the overall attendance at the fair, everyone agrees was way lower this year because of the date change. I think we actually engaged more people, pretty sure. We had 1,275 direct engagements. That's 1,275 humans that we directly talked to and came to our booth. Now, granted, some of those kids were double, like the same kids came to our booth a few times, So some of the kids, it's a little bit inflated because there were kids that came multiple times, but that's a lot of people, 1,275 folks. And that was a team effort for sure. CORE, our partners on the CWDG, had a bunch of staff from CORE that came and helped staff that because it's a lot of long days. I pretty much.
That's how tired she is. She just freezes every
Biggest
once in a
event.
while, and that's it. There you go.
You
You
froze.
unfroze. That's good.
Oh,
So
I froze. Sorry. I didn't know I
that's
was
okay.
frozen. Yeah, so it was a great success. And yeah, every weekend in June, we were out somewhere. Really busy June with outreach events and yeah, just gonna keep on trucking. If anyone's at,
This weekend is Carnivale.
yep, I was just gonna say, come see us in Weed at the Carnivale. We'll be there.
I have to add that Kristen and our core partners have been really busy this June, going to lots of activities, lots of the normal stuff, and then the fair being moved, and everybody seemed to move everything to June this year. So Kristen's been burning the candle at both ends, and we really appreciate that. Okay, and I'm gonna go in to Heidi for your Firewise program that you're doing. Do you have any updates for us?
Hi, yeah. Also, for those of you that haven't heard me say, I'm also Audubon's fuels management and nesting bird liaison. And I'm really happy to hear that you guys worked something out with the mastication and the birds on those projects. And I encourage everybody when they can to get hold of me and I can help out in whatever way with surveying or just information. So we have fewer surprises. But we did have a really fun outcome from our last in-house Gateway Firewise meeting. We had a raffle winner of a home hardening project. So Mount Shasta Bioregional Ecology Center and the Gateway Firewise community partnered, and we went to this lucky person's home and spent, it was like a week. It was supposed to be 2 days, but we had all that hot weather. So we had to kind of move time around. But we pulled plants away from under windows, away from her paper board siding. I've never seen anything like it. I guess it's not made anymore. But she was really fortunate to win that raffle prize, and we really hope that what we did made a difference. So, and would we do it again? We would, with some changes. So we learned a lot. And that's all I have to report.
Thank you, Heidi. And just to go back to Kristen, she's our Firewise coordinator for the Fire Safe Council. Do you have any other updates on Firewise communities, Kristen?
Yeah, we do have I will circle back and again toot Heidi's horn for her because she really is our poster child Firewise leader in our county, and she put together single-handedly a really amazing annual community meeting for Gateway that was at the lodge in the city park and had a great turnout. And she just orchestrated a really impressive program and had a great engagement with all the folks that showed up. So happy to support her and all of her good work that she's always doing. And yeah, we have a new Firewise community that just got designated that was kind of 2 years in the making. So it feels like a big accomplishment because it took quite a bit of work to make it happen finally at the Hammond Ranch. It's called the Greater Hammond Ranch Fireways Community, but it's really very expansive all the way up to Stewart Springs and Edgewood, essentially, all the way down to Dietz. So it's much larger than what most people think of as Hammond Ranch. So it's about 700 homes. And we had our first community meeting at the Hammond Ranch Fire Hall Department and had about 75 people show up, which is a lot. So we had a really great meeting and got, all the email lists made and neighborhood captains identified. And Kyle Lunsford, the fire chief for Hammond Ranch, and Jim Bean, his assistant fire chief, did a great job with Marushka Papazian, I'm not saying that right probably, is the Firewise leader for Hammond Ranch. And yeah, they all did a great job again as well. So exciting to start seeing more momentum picking up. We are going out to the Mount Shasta forest community and outside of McLeod that Christine Holtz with the Shasta Tea was mentioning is the off-grid community out about 20 minutes outside of McLeod. So that's another one that's been about 2 years in the making. It's finally getting some momentum and moving forward. So we're presenting at their annual POA meeting next Saturday and got their board members finally on track with it and hopefully get that application in and get that designation as soon as possible. And so anyone else who might be interested in getting Firewise going, I can put my information in the chat, give me a call. It's also, Giselle is also the Firewise regional coordinator with me. You can give her a call too. And we do the deadline for applications is November, mid-November. And there's quite a bit of footwork that has to be done. So it's not like you can start a couple weeks before the deadline and make it. So it's now would be the time to start that process if anyone does want to make that deadline by November. So
How about Timber Hills? Aren't we getting close with that one?
Oh, that one's been established for a while. They got their designation last fall, and they've been doing some work days, and chipper days. So yeah, they have been keeping their momentum up, and Happy Camp got designated, and we just got them their big, signs that they are going to be putting up on either end of town that state they are now a Firewise community out there in Happy Camp. That's a big Firewise community out there as well. And yeah, that's pretty much end of report for Firewise.
Hey,
Thanks.
Kristen, is there a minimum size of a Firewise community?
Yes, it's a minimum of 8 property owners. You don't have to share property boundaries, and there's really no, hard and fast rules in terms of the geographical parameters. We basically, usually work with either the, fire department, fire chief, or CAL FIRE when we're designating, making the map of that Firewise community. And it can be as small as 8. We usually draw, even if it is just kind of a smaller little enclave, we usually will draw the map around about 25, depending on the lay of the land and geography, what makes sense. But it's better to make it a little bit bigger so that other folks can join once they start, hearing about it. That usually happens. But just everyone that's in your boundary does not have to be involved. It's just a minimum of 8 people to get it started. And it can be as many as 2,500 homes. So it's a huge range. Our biggest one in Siskiyou County is Dunsmuir. That's about 1,400 homes. We just used the Fire Protection District boundary for that Firewise community. And so, yeah, it's just dependent on, the folks involved in the lay of the land.
Thanks, Kristen. I'm going to circle back real quick on the Community Wildfire Defense Grant. As Giselle said, we were over halfway through. I believe officially we have 254 homes assessed and treated. And we have been in the communities of Cecilville, Forks, Scott Bar, Hamburg, Tennant, Bray, Dunsmuir, West Wairika, and Etna. I may have missed one. And we are continuing to move on to other communities in our county. But we're going pretty good. We're pretty pleased. We're actually halfway through time-wise, and we're halfway through what what the grant requires. So I just wanted to let you guys know which communities we've been in to this date.
And our next grouping is Syad, Horse Creek, Happy Camp, and then immediately, and then we'll be moving out to Fort Jones, Greenview, Quartz Valley. So if anyone knows any folks in those regions, send them our way to sign up.
Sign them up. Get them to sign up, I should say. And before I go on to the fire safe councils, anybody else want to speak? Caroline from Shasta Nationland or Marlene? Do you want to have any updates for us or just listening?
Go ahead, please.
Oh, I was just going to say, I'm basically just listening. But I would like to know, because, I get on Facebook and they were carrying on about that prescribed burn. Why do it when it's so hot out, blah, blah, blah. And, because I'm one of the few people that really knows nothing, but I attend these meetings. And I'd like to know, what I could say to these people that carry on. Why do they have to do it this time of year? Blah, blah, blah. Because I usually say, well, you know, they only have so much time to do things and so many people to do it and so much money at so much time, you know. But is there something better I can offer?
Go for it, Patty.
Oh, is Kevin on the phone with somebody else maybe, right now? But, yeah, I would say that part of it's condition based, you know, I mean, that was for fine fuels and grasses, and they're waiting for the grasses to cure up there to help carry the fire, and so, you know, that's a big part of it. A big part of it is, just a lot of work to be done. And, you know, we have a lifetime's worth of work here, and you know, I think that CAL FIRE was pretty confident that they had the resources to, you know, do that safely. And again, you know, Kevin can come here and save me. One of the things that people maybe aren't aware of is CAL FIRE flew 2 drones during that prescribed fire.
I'm sorry, I'm having a little trouble hearing you.
Yeah, so I'm sorry, I'm gonna get a little bit closer, but so one of the things that's interesting about that fire was that that prescribed burn was that CAL FIRE was flying 2 drones the entire time that was going on. One of them was being used to help do ignitions to help light, to, you know, provide for safety of you know, all the burners out there. But the second one was up high, and it had, you know, infrared sensors. It was watching the fire through the smoke. It was watching for spot fires. And so, I mean, really, you know, I couldn't imagine any other precautions to be taken to, you know, make sure that that was successful and safely executed. So, you know, we need, the reality is we need a longer burn season here to get the burning done. And I think CAL FIRE picked the right, they picked the right place for that July burn, and they did a great job with it.
Uh-huh. Yeah, well, I'm totally with you on this. I mean, I have a whole new attitude as far as, I mean, I've learned so much attending this. But I'm just, you're saying when people carry on like on different, like Siskiyou County, uh, well, the grapevine and the et cetera. And I see all the complaining. It's like I want to smack them with it. but like I'm pretty much defending everything from the fireplace, you know, I mean, Fire Safe Council, because I know how hard you guys work, and, you know, CDF and really, and the Forest Service, and people like to complain a lot. But I know how hard you work, and like, you know, I defend my friends. What can I tell you?
That's good for you, Marlene. And I always say that, you know, it's amazing how many fire experts there are in Siskiyou County. There's so many fire experts.
I have some answers for you, Marlene, but
okay.
they're not for public
that's
iteration, so I won't go there. But I will say you could tell them that the Prescribed Burn Association is open to volunteers and private landowners, so they could join and be involved in when prescribed burns are done and where and how. So just I would open it up to them to be involved.
That's a great idea. Although they probably live in apartment buildings in Wairika. But
okay.
Never know. That's fine too. They can do it.
They're the people that complain the most, the people that really have no, you know, association with what's happening. But what can I tell you? But, you know, I like to be able to say something that sounds slightly intelligent and, you know, direct them to something. Because I know how hard all of you work. And, you know, the U.S. Forest Service and CDF, God, you're just incredible what you all do. So I thank you.
lots of planning done beforehand. It's never gone out, it doesn't go out willy-nilly and they just start putting fire on the ground without immense amount of planning ahead of time. So you can also add that in there.
Yeah, and that's interesting, the idea of the grass actually has to be dry in order to burn. I hadn't thought about that, but that's very good. Thank you.
You're welcome. Let me see. I lost. Did I lose? Oh, there you are, Caroline. Chef from Shasta Nation. Sorry.
Yes, I'm in awe with what I'm hearing today. Most of this is news to me. And so thanks to every one of you for the work and the clarity with which you've spoken. Just to repeat a little bit of what I said initially, when we have so many people coming through Mount Shasta, whether they're on their way to the Shakespeare Festival in Ashland or whatever they're doing, we have this incredible number of tourists here. And I check around, I talk with people, and they really don't have their phone apps set up to get alerts. They don't know their zone number. They're really lost. And we would have tremendous traffic and congestion problems if we had any kind of emergency here, whether it was fire or because the railroad track goes right through the middle of town, if it were a derailment of a train carrying something flammable, we would have an evacuation issue. And people don't know how to get out of here. They don't have the right apps on their phone. So my interest is in being as local as possible. I live downtown, and we had a wonderful house hardening event here that the Bioregional Center sponsored. And I thought, if I could just piggyback with some group that could set up a table that says, bring us your phone, let's check your apps, let's see if you're set up for evacuations. I went to City Hall, they didn't have the information. I went to the fire station and they had Ready Siskiyou, but tourists don't know to go there. They don't know. And so a communication system is needed. So my feeling was that if businesses could put simply a poster, like a small poster in their windows with whatever the evacuation link is and a QR code, and only have a couple of things, not a lot of paragraphs about to go bags and things like that, because tourists already have that ready to go. So as I said, I'm just interested in partnering with somebody where we can set up a way to effectively communicate with the thousands of tourists that come here. I spoke with Sergeant Pretty and Fire Chief Burns about this, and Sergeant Pretty was telling me that, so looking at the police side of an evacuation as well as the fire side. And Sergeant Pretty was saying that coming from the lake to the hatchery right at the entrance to I-5 was a 3-hour event. So if we have better communications, if we have an evacuation plan, to me, that would be a marvelous way to minimize chaos if we ever did have a Mount Shasta area event. And so here I am looking for a way to connect and communicate, and I'm open to any suggestions. I'll put my email in the chat, and if anyone has ideas, and I'll put my phone number in here too. I'm a retired teacher, by the way.
I believe Julie has her hand up. She can respond to some of this. Julie?
Well, yeah, this is interesting. There actually was, I'm trying to remember if it was last year or the year before, some really big signs on the entrances of I-5 exit entrances. I believe it was either OES or CAL FIRE. I can't remember who, but I think it was OES, and they had the big Ready Siskiyou. It might have been at that point the zone red. We've switched over, but they had all that information electronically, really big. I think it was even electronically, and that's a great idea to re up that, during this time of year. And maybe Kevin Mancebo, Cal Fire. I can't remember if it was Cal Fire or OES, and maybe you guys remember this as well. Kristen, I know saw you nodding. So
Yeah,
that is that's a
it was
great.
OES. Oh yeah,
It
Kevin
was
just
OES. So
confirmed in the
Office of Emergency Services website has all that. So if people go on to the websites for the county, all that information's there. So and as far as the plan, Kevin could talk just 1 second. Kevin, take over it in just a sec. Evacuation planning is fluid because it depends on where your emergency is. So you gotta be careful about telling people, well, you're gonna go this way until you actually know the state of the emergency and the source of the emergency and directions. So it's better to have watch duty and the applications on your phone versus you can hand out a handout, but got to be careful on that anyway because of the type of emergencies. But Kevin, go ahead. Sorry.
Go ahead, Kevin. You have anything to add here?
I'll lower my hand here.
Sorry, I just coming out from underneath the timber stand, so my connectivity left. I didn't have anything else to say other than Julie and Kristen have covered it. I just want to pine bed that it's OES's signboards with that signage. So, and I think you covered the bases on pre-existing evacuations because it's a dynamic situation. But awareness level, I like the concept is great. It's out there. It really comes down to a very simple opportunity to me in my mind is the Genesis app. As long as you have your tracking location live, then it'll be applicable to the individual where they're at. But that comes down to the end user.
I might add that OES hired a company to do evacuation routes. We have not yet seen the map, or they're done with their study, but we haven't seen the final product yet.
So that's just a study. That's not going to have anything other than just a study, and all it's going to tell us is where traffic pinch points are at and stuff like that. It's really not going to change anything that we don't know.
Okay.
And we, in our CWPPs in the past, Caroline, we do address egress and ingress and evacuation. But as Kevin and Julie have said, if you say you go out this road to the south, then as soon as you say that, the fire or the flood or the hazardous material will be coming from the south, and you want people to go to the north. So we do tend to be vague in our plans about evacuation routes and evacuation sites, just because we don't know at the time where the threat is coming from and where it's going to.
This is George. Do you mind
Go,
if I
George.
add a little? Yeah, I just want to add a little something about what Dave's work is doing with the Siskiyou Media Council, and I think that's an important part of that evacuation and information that he's building for the future. So,
Yes.
I just wanted, yeah, thanks, George. I appreciate that. That's the whole thing about it right now. Right now, we have the 24/7 bulletin board that can be shared across many websites, can be shared across anything. Anybody can have that on there. It does the same thing. It's in a rotate right now. It's in a carousel mode where it has QR codes. It talks about Genesis. It talks about Ready Siskiyou. Talks about things like that. It just gives those information. That's the purpose of the radio infrastructure project, is that because we keep hearing everybody has to have a radio in their go bag, yet there's no radio stations here. That's why we're pushing for this, is to put this in, which means that the agreements that we put them in, just because they're community radio stations operated by nonprofits, does not mean that those stations can't be turned over to the city. And they're all basically, really, in all honesty, they can never, as long as they've got power to them and the towers are up, you're not you're not restricted from that kind of thing. And then also at the same time is that anybody can record a message and we can put it on a loop, and it just shares that information until it's updated. So it's an infrastructure project that we're trying to put in. And then once that's in, is that it's up to the communities if they want to invest, time and effort into it.
And one more thing I will add is that I'm gonna offer up Kristen here. She's our outreach coordinator for the Fire Safe Council. She does all those fun events and everything, and I think she's a good person for you to contact
Mm.
and talk about if we want to get information out to people when we set up our tables at different events and things. And she would be a great resource for you. Sorry, Kristen, I threw you under
No,
the
I
bus.
was going to chime in and say that. Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, I think for the scope and the scale, what Caroline's, especially, on these weekends like the 4th of July, where the population of Mount Shasta quadruples from, 10 to 40,000 people. I think that, like having OES put up a signboard at the exits on Lake Street, like they did in the past to get the general public signed up, for the tourists that when in a time like that where it's a weekend with tons of people coming and going, would be definitely something we could suggest to OES, if they have the capacity to do that.
What about Ready
But
Raccoon at the exit? Have Ready
Yeah.
Raccoon up there.
There you
yeah,
go,
who's
George.
gonna get in that in 110-degree weather? But yeah, I mean, I will say I would assume that anything that if you are wanting to make a flyer to put up in storefronts, for, the general tourist season, if you're listing, OES stuff, we would assumably need OES approval, to put that in, information in a flyer or whatnot. But we do have a new OES assistant, that is really great, Adriana, that we can connect with, and brainstorm about these ideas. So yeah, my information's in the chat. You can give me a call and we can connect with Adriana and go from there.
It's a great idea because we haven't done a lot with planning for the visitor stuff like you mentioned, and Mount Shasta I know has much more than like where I live is in Etna, but Etna does get a huge influx for us, a huge influx of PCT hikers, and we have had you can't tell you how many years in a row now we've had either they're all have to be forced off the trail due to fires, or the fires was threatening Etna, and we have to get out and get them information to them so they get out and how to get out. So every community has their kind of different things. So how to do this the best way is good heads up and something for us to think about and consider. And with OES, because they're the ones who really are in charge of this stuff.
There
Hey,
was one other
Carolyn,
thing,
you can all.
Jamie, a
Oh,
few,
go ahead. I'm sorry.
just real quick. When the Listos, do you remember when that went through their funding, and we um we did create some pamphlets for various towns. There was a Wairika one, Mount Shasta one, and I think a Scott Valley one. And it was a good pamphlet. It was informational and it had just a map in the middle that just had arterials on it. It didn't tell you you're going to use this route. I mean, if there was funding again to do something like that, maybe that's something that wants to be taken on again, because there was a pretty nice template that you could use for each town. Anyway, she mentioned Caroline had mentioned something like a flyer. It's just an idea. Yeah.
Thanks,
Go
Jim.
ahead, Dave. Sorry.
Yeah.
Oh no, I was just going to say is that we should also, if especially for Mount Shasta, they've got their Chamber of Commerce and their visitor center right as they walk in. That should be also those two OES and those two individuals should be talking as well.
Yeah. Go ahead, Carolyn.
I'd like to thank everyone for these great ideas and the information. A lot of the terms I'm hearing are new to me, so I'm trying to just absorb a lot. So I particularly resonated with people who spoke about QR codes, because tourists and hikers are not going to write down a URL. They're just going to take a snapshot. But I'm also interested, and I love the idea too of the Chamber of Commerce. I thought of that because we have, my hope was that we could reach out to all the resorts and motels and give them the basic information for evacuations to put in their, hopefully, put in their confirmation emails or to whatever they do when they have a guest to register at their hotel. And they may not think that's good business, but I would like to think that there's a way to link all the motels and hotels and all the people who come through. And then that would be for tourists. The other concern I have is that when I ask friends and other people, what app do you have on your phone for evacuation updates? And they don't know, they don't have them. And I went online and I was checking my own fire zone and I got two different numbers, not realizing that Code Red had been dropped in Genesis and others are being used. So the visual communication, not just the, that doesn't depend upon somebody going to a website, something they can snap a QR code for is just a real efficient way.
Yep.
And there was one more thing I wanted to say. So yeah, flyers. Oh, yeah, the second thing. So what I also was interested in, as I started to say, is that the making sure people have an app on their phone already, because the flyers and the information I'm seeing now require a login. Well, the login, then you have to get the email confirmation, and then you go back and you set up your password, and it's a time-consuming thing. So when I heard that Mount Shasta didn't have in its budget the an evacuation plan, and by that I fully appreciate that you don't know where the fire is going to be, and you can't have a route predetermined. But I decided, I said to myself, well, who does have the money to have an evacuation plan? So I went to Marin County and I checked out their plan. And they had some really interesting things. They had learned that you do not require a person to log in if you're where seconds count and not minutes, but seconds count. You have something that everybody knows about that you go straight to with no login. So that kind of communication, and I like too the idea of the Lake Street, electric boards describing what to do. But if we can just simply get a single go-to login, without a login, a go-to site that's QR coded, that's visual, that people don't have to know to go to Facebook. Most people here get our information from Facebook, but tourists and hikers don't know to go there. And so something that's a very simple flyer or poster or whatever, I think be would be I think tourists and hikers would resonate with that. And thank you everyone. I'm so appreciative of what you're doing and what I've heard today.
And Caroline, and you're familiar with Genesis, right?
Yes, that's on
Okay.
my phone.
Okay, and Watch Duty.
And watch duties is on there too.
Okay.
And fire cams and everything else. But the average tourist doesn't know this.
Watch Duty now is national.
Mhm.
So I think
I think
tourists,
Genesis is too.
yeah.
Yeah.
I think it will start, more and more people will start learning about Watch Duty because I think now they're in every state, if I remember. They've really expanded in the last 2 years. So, but yeah, those are the two main ones.
I agree. And I like that simplicity a lot. The issue here too for residents, and I didn't even address that, is that most people here that I've talked with don't know their fire zone. So if they got an evacuation alert, they don't know how to set their phone so that an alert can go through whatever they've shut off for the night. So, for example, I go to sleep, and what if we have a power outage here? And what if we have a situation that we need a breakthrough alert? People don't know how to set their phones. And I had thought if we could incorporate that with the house hardening activities and things like that, where you have a table set up and people bring their phones over and we just help them get the right app and the right settings so that they can get their alert anytime.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you guys so much.
Kristen, if you can put your contact information in chat for Caroline, that'd be great.
Yeah, it's in there.
Okay,
I
Kristen.
do want to make a clarification because I run into this a lot with outreach is people, when I ask them, are you signed up for the emergency alerts? Oh yeah, I got watch duty. I'm like, nope, it's watch duty is not the emergency alert system, and they're not signed up for Ready Siskiyou. And so that is something for everyone to be aware of to, make sure people realize that watch duty is great, but it is not the most, it's not 100% real time usually, and it's not gonna, like
It's
Caroline is
not
saying,
official.
wake you up
Yes,
and
not government
So,
official.
so watch duty is one, but doesn't Genesis send out alerts and where your pet refuge, sanctuaries and all that? Doesn't it have that same kind of watch duty's got more information?
Yeah, I mean, it's more that, watch duty doesn't, know your zone. Watch duty's not, I mean, you can have like the generalized settings, like I have my settings for Shasta County because I have family that lives there. So I get notifications of fires that happen in Shasta County, but watch duty is not going to alert me at 2 in the morning, like the Ready Siskiyou, Genesis is going to wake
And
me
I
up
think
and say, get out.
Genesis can be, yeah, it's a phone setting on your phone, not through
Right,
the.
but you're right. That is a good point about, you have to have those, if you have your phone on airplane mode or whatnot at night, you
I
need to.
So
just wanted to throw on one more thing. What about the CERT teams and stuff? And that seems like a good part of this conversation. I don't hear anything about CERT teams.
Yeah, we are trying to help coordinate with that is officially under Office of Emergency Services, or was, I should say. They are in the process of putting it under search and rescue. So they're going through whatever, official paperwork, MOU, whatnot to get CERT. Well, so first of all, CERT is the Community Emergency Response Team that has been defunct in Siskiyou County for I don't even know how many years. And so we're trying to get it back up and running here. And there was a grant that OES got, and they did a couple of trainings. But then Owen at OES was who headed that up, and he moved over to the health department, and things have kind of been in limbo since he left. But and now they're kind of shifting gears and putting it under search and rescue. So I think we're still just kind of in a lull, waiting for all of that to get reconfigured. But yes, so this, that does, George is right. Like this, definitely, when we do get CERT going, that would definitely be a piece of the puzzle that Caroline is discussing. So basically, what CERT does is helps, as a support to the emergency responders. You're not putting yourself in harm's way. You're not doing anything crazy or, dangerous. So for example, in Caroline's example, like if we had a Mount Shasta CERT strike team, we would be the ones, out there, under the tutelage and direction of emergency responders and sheriff and OES, whatever they tell us to do. But for example, directing evacuation, or going and knocking on doors or helping in that evacuation process in the lowest level, extra boots on the ground essentially that help with that, in addition to obviously like National Guard that might get called in or whatnot. But so yeah, a CERT team is definitely in the works. And at the fair, I also started kind of doing some networking for an animal, like a livestock specific CERT team. A lot of counties have a separate and dedicated livestock CERT team that helps with livestock evacuation. And so the president of the Cattlewomen's Association and the UC Extension office and the head of 4-H, we've started connecting the dots with all of those folks to get like that's a little caveat, but yeah, and for sure, we're definitely kind of assisting OES in trying to get those CERT teams back up and running, and trying to think of creative partnerships that can help that happen, and scale it, and make it sustainable. Like with Mountain Medics. Mountain Medics is stepping up to kind of sponsor and be the hub for a South County CERT. And then we're, find another entity, in the North County that would kind of be a similar sponsor slash hub for the North County CERT. So yeah, that's also kind of another little side thing we are trying to help out with. But yeah, that would tie into what you're bringing up as potential needs in the community. And yeah, the CERT team would be a way to fill some gaps in those evacuation situations.
Jamie, I'm not trying to jump over you, but I think Dave had his hand up for quite a while. Did you have something you wanted to say, Dave?
I just wanted to say that I had an opportunity back in February to go to the first CERT training that they had. And they've got the equipment, they've got the backpacks, they've got all the stuff ready to go that they keep at their facility. And I know that they were that I asked the question, when was going to be the next training? They were like saying during the summertime they're busy, so they were thinking that in the fall they're going to start up in the next set training. So those are the kind of things that are out there for them, that they're, and as Kristen is saying, was that they're working with search and rescue to make that happen. So hopefully by this fall we'll see more activity on the search side of the house.
Good.
Okay, I'm just going to say that I think, Caroline, we've given you a lot of information and we're happy to work with you. And I think OES is your biggest group that really does run a lot of this stuff. So thanks for coming to the meeting, and always good to talk about these subjects. But I'm going to move us on now and put us into the local fire safe councils. And instead of just me reading off the list, I'm going to ask from the people here. So I'll start with Giselle. Do we have anything in your local fire safe councils?
I think Dale wants to share something. He is the coordinator for the Mount Shasta Area Fire Safe Council. Why don't you scoot up here, Dale, so they can see you?
Hi, folks.
Hi, Dale.
I'm just curious, what's our ERC today, fire guys? Nobody know?
What's ERC? Might as well say.
Emission release.
Energy release component,
Energy, sorry.
pocket card all firefighters carry. Anybody know?
No, this is not.
Because I just wanted to ring a bell to the lava fire, which started about 5 years ago, almost to the day. The lava fire burned Mount Shasta and Weed, 26,000 acres. And Julie remembers, because she called me late one night, huh, Julie? When it crossed Diller Canyon and it was about to roar into Mount Shasta City, running on that even-aged plantation timber. But thanks to the Beckworth Hotshots, and I think the Klamath Hotshots, who fought 2 days and 2 nights without a dozer, without any air support, nothing. Hand tools, and they banged it down for us. Meanwhile, I think we really need to consider how fast things are drying out. I hope we get some rain this weekend, but we may not. So we're definitely in the fire season. And Heidi, I think you were working on opening up a road that we're very concerned about out there on Raspberry Lane. I went out there again today. I see it's still locked. We can talk about that later. But these are the kind of things we really need to note and pay attention, where we need to make sure we have open evacuation routes in our neighborhoods. Another thing, we need to be very, very aware of strange people doing strange things, not just fireworks. But I was sitting on the tracks today, a couple hours ago in Mount Shasta City, and this train heading south had this oil tanker, several of them, and one big 5-foot white painted sign on it said, "Kill capitalism," with Antifa's sign right next to it. Trust me, but don't trust me. Believe there are a lot of internal domestic terrorists. and they don't have a problem starting wildfire in our communities. So we need to be very cognizant. We need to be looking up, down, and all around. If you have a neighborhood watch in your community, you might want to make that your topic of a discussion for the week. And in the meanwhile, let's think about the Spring Hill fire, you all. In Mount Shasta, 1950, there were some so-called tourists coming by. Used to have a little picnic spot right at the south base of Black Butte, right off the old Highway 99, which is now Spring Hill Road. A couple cars stopped there, and half an hour later, fire's running big and fast with a 20-mile-an-hour wind, running it right up to Black Butte and the fire lookout that was up there. That fire burned about 1,350 acres, and had it not been for Forest Service firefighters, then that night, backfiring right from the railroad in front of the city park and capturing that flame front as it crested over Spring Hill because of a wind shift, bringing the fire hard and heavy into Mount Shasta City. Plus, an absolute grace of God, we had a ham radio convention in Mount Shasta City Park that very weekend. I'm looking at the September 1st, 1950 Mount Shasta Herald, and there were 23 mobile stations on that fire. These ham radio operators were moving all around, and the only guy that had a radio with Mount Shasta Fire was Frank Mello. Nobody else did.
So, Dale, I've just got to ask you though, what's the Mount Shasta Fire Safe Council doing presently to deal with the situations you bring up?
Education, education, and re-education, always. The bottom line also, going back to evacuation, for those that haven't registered, pass it on in your education in your neighborhoods. Start local, and realize that the key radio station to tie into is KSYC 103.9 FM or 1490 AM. They're the only radio station in all of Siskiyou County that is tasked by County OES to give pertinent, timely evacuation notices. They are the only radio station. Now you can listen to other ones, and we have 3 or 4 that are relay capable, but I would stay on 103.9 FM. Any questions?
All right. Okay. Thanks, Dale.
Well, thank you too.
And I don't see anybody else from Fire Safe Councils here tonight. Any of the lead folks.
Jamie, I do
yes.
see a new person, David Batchelor.
Yep. Saw that.
Hey, so hi everybody. David Batchelor is a friend of mine down here in the Bay Area, and
Okay.
he and I have been talking about Fire Safe Council down in the Benicia area, and I invited him to the meeting tonight just to take a look and see what we're doing, and to get ideas for their Fire Safe Council for that kind of thing. So.
Oh, okay, good, because I was about ready to boot him because we had that little glitch earlier.
I've been booted before.
Okay.
So I'm just eavesdropping and appreciate listening to everyone and what you're doing. Thank you.
Questions? Hey, David, are you related to Dick Batchelor?
You know, I got to tell you, I did a family tree, and we're all over the place.
Yeah.
So we very much could be,
Dick was
whether it's
great
Dick or Wayne or Jerry or John or a lot of bachelors out there.
All right.
Yeah, I used to be one myself.
Yeah, well, I've been one my whole life.
Don't be bragging now.
Okay, so I don't see any other fire safe councils on to report, which I know there's work being done all over the county, but like I said earlier, people are busy right now this time of year. And as far as just doing, I don't think an open forum, and we meet back again next month in August. I don't have the date for that. When is the date for our August?
Ruby, do you have the August 2nd?
That will be the 12th, August 12th. The second Wednesday will be August 12th.
Okay.
Okay.
I know it's not very many people on this call and we're all kind of internal um, to Fire Safe Council, but just to put it out there on behalf of Dave and the Siskiyou Media Council. So Dave kind of explained, where they're at with this process, but he didn't explain that. So those four stations, Happy Camp, Tule Lake, Mount Shasta, and Hornbrook, are the 4 out of 12 stations that are getting the actual gear and getting, operational. But that, we've got 12 licenses, 8 more throughout the county that are not funded for the gear and equipment that are necessary to get them operational. And, Dave's been working tirelessly on this for how many years? At least 3, Dave. And probably a lot of you don't even know that Dave does not live here. I thought all these years he was going to retire here, and that's why he was investing all this time, volunteer time, into Siskiyou County. No, he's not. He's not ever going to live here. And he's just that amazing human that is so passionate about this. So the plug is to put it out there into the county and communities networking on Dave's behalf is that if we don't get funding for those additional 8 stations to get the gear and equipment to be operational by February, all 12 licenses go away.
Just 8, just the 8, just the 8.
Oh, just the 8. Okay.
Just the 8. If
So
you're
the 4, we would
broadcasting,
retain the 4
if we're
that have.
broadcasting by February 27th, then all stations are up and running. That'd be grand.
Yeah. So we don't want we would lose the licenses of the 8 that don't have the gear. Is that correct?
Right. And then
We'd
the
retain
possibility of a
4.
window to open up again would probably be about another 7 or 8 years.
Right, that was the key. Yeah, that it's
terrible.
not going to come around again, and that it took and it took money to get all those 12 licenses to begin with. So, if you know any entities, businesses that need a tax write-off in the end of the year, Siskiyou Media Council does have nonprofit status, so it is a tax write-off. Any
Right.
donations, and basically that's where we're at, trying to get local businesses, partners that we can pool together the funding, which is about 150,000 to get those other 8 the
Yeah.
equipment they need.
Yeah,
It really is not much. So yeah, that's kind of the plug. If anyone knows anyone that might be able to
Got
contribute
satellite
and help.
campuses down in Happy Camp.
Okay.
Could ask the
Thanks,
question.
Appreciate it.
Kristen, for updating that. And Giselle for a speaker. Let's try to see if we can get OES not only to join us next month, but have them come with what their updates, because they're doing their road stuff, they're doing the evacuation routes, they're doing a lot of stuff, and we haven't seen them. And I think it feels like this would be a good time for them to give us a really good update on their programs.
Excellent suggestion.
Thanks, Dale.
Dale had a comment about radio stations and COS.
Yeah, Dave, I'm curious. COS once carried the radio stations and TV stations, public TV stations. What's the possibility they would take on those radio stations again, since they've got campuses from Happy Camp all the way to McLeod and from Dunsmuir all the way to Doris?
No, that's always an interesting. I mean, we've been engaged with those individuals as well, especially when we started out with the process of asking if they wanted to be one of the sponsors or holders of a license, and they denied. They just turned it down. So, and that is for everybody to know, SMC has not, in the last 10 years, have not had a great track record in here, and it's just been and I know that we can bring this thing back to the point where it's usable and sustainable for the county as a voice. And we know that. But then the thing is, I am working with SHAR and the NCOS to make sure that they're aware that this is a possibility to expand their horizons as well. So it's just constant beating on everybody's doors, and that's what I've been doing.
Well, let us know who we can focus a letter to at COS that can hopefully get a crowbar under their feet.
We'll see. We'll appreciate it.
I would love to write that letter.
I know you
He's from
would.
Mount Shasta Fire Safe Council.
I know you would. All right. I appreciate it, Dale.
All right, folks, I'm going to call an end to this meeting for David Batchelor. I'm sorry you didn't get to see the whole thing on where our activities were, but maybe next time you can join us again.
Well, the recording,
Thank you.
recording
Thanks,
will be
everybody.
on our website and our
Oh,
YouTube
that's
channel.
true.
So you
I
can always
forget
get
that. Thanks,
the
Chris.
recordings of all of our meetings.
Right.
Many
So,
hours of enjoyment.
right. Thanks to Greg, we're on our recordings are there, and he can fill you in because he's here every month with us. All right, everybody. Thanks for coming and for staying for the whole time, and we will see you in August.
All right.
Thank
Thank you all.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you all.
Bye.
God bless you.